said. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah?
It has.
It has. Oh, hello, everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to Walking My Wheels.
Walking my wheels.
Walking in my wheels.
Walking in my wheels.
Walking in my wheels. The podcast talks about anything and has absolutely no structure. Just me rolling through life with some pretty cool friends.
Do we have a number on this podcast?
I believe we're 22.
Okay.
I think this is 22.
Okay.
Old
Maybe
enough to
23.
drink.
Maybe no, I think it's 23 actually.
Well, we will verify that for you.
And actually, some pretty exciting news. After 21 was dropped, we actually had 1,000 downloads.
Thank you.
Yes. So
Awesome.
thank you all the podcast people out there that have been listening to us.
Golf clap.
Yes, absolutely. We really appreciate your support and your help. It's pretty awesome. But we have a guest today. First, I'd like to let you hear my co-host. To my left, we got Matt.
What's up?
How you been, man?
I'm living the dream.
How's your week? I haven't talked to you at all this week.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Well, dude, well, my car was in the shop this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally.
What happened?
When I would brake, down when I brake to point where I'd stop like really slow, my car would turn off. Seriously, my engine would shut off. I'd still have power because my radio would still be going, my lights would still be on.
So basically,
I'd have to put my car back into park and turn it back over.
So it just wasn't idling properly.
Well,
it was probably a sensor.
It wasn't a sensor.
Wait.
It was actually the throttle body. It was just super dirty.
Throttle body.
And well, at least that's what I'm hoping it is. It's apparently just because of the way it's cleaned out, it's dirty. It's kind of like, think of it getting a water in like air in a pipe.
Yep.
It takes a little bit of time to work its way out. It's going to take a couple of days. So far it hasn't been doing anything. It's driving perfectly normal now. But every time, and especially if I suddenly stopped, some asshole pulled out in front of me when I was tried to cut me off, I was getting on the interstate, and he just stopped right dead because there was nowhere to fucking go. Congratulations, you are 30 seconds earlier now, you asshole.
I was thinking that your car was having a identity crisis and thinking it was a hybrid.
It is a
hybrid.
It already knows what it is. It is a partial zero emissions vehicle.
Hey, because a hybrid, when you come to a stop, it cuts the engine off like a golf cart.
That's true.
That's what I don't understand about hybrids is why it took them so long to put that technology in a vehicle. Because if you ever gone golfing or drove a gas-powered golf cart, every time you put the brake and stop it, it cut the engine. And to get back in it and go, you just press the gas and it goes.
Big oil,
dude.
Thank you, buddy.
We've had this conversation.
And that's Grizz with his 2 cents there.
Yeah.
How's your week been?
Grizz's 2 cents.
It's good. I don't have 2 cents to my name. It's typically maybe 1.3 cents.
That's a weird ratio. How do you spend 0.7 cents?
I don't spend.
Census.
I don't spend 0.7. I said 1.3. So that's all I have to spend.
So you had never mind. You had 2 cents. How did you spend the 0.7?
Okay.
Never
All right,
mind.
okay.
I don't want to have to.
I'm talking about.
We do have
Just
a
whatever.
Fourth person here.
We do have a fourth person.
Hi,
He's,
everybody.
sitting here
Grizz
very
here.
patiently.
Hope everybody's doing good. This week's been pretty shitty, but hey, I'm here.
It's been a long week. It's been a busy long week.
It has been a very, very busy week.
Yeah. So, but we have a very special guest today. It's a gentleman that both Grizz and I work with. His name is Juan.
Actually, let's get this right. It's Juan.
Juan, yes.
That's right.
Is that how do you properly pronounce your name?
Juan.
Juan? Really?
Yeah, Juan.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. I suck at words, apparently.
You Americanized his name.
I did. Juan. John. How do you say it?
Hey, man, I'm just going to start calling you Joe. Yeah, that works better for me.
Jose is Joe.
For all the American listeners, we have John with us. For all the Spanish listeners, we have Juan.
Juan.
Yeah, is it John? Is it the interpretation of John? Or
Yeah, that would be John.
you're American? Okay,
American,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend named Jose, and his would be Joe.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, yeah, why am I telling you? Hey, I have a friend named...
No, I wasn't being sarcastic. I'm being serious. I didn't know it was Joe.
Yeah, he told me it was Joe. Oh, cool. Well, I taught a Spanish dude a Spanish name. That's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Mexican, sorry.
Right.
So, anyways,
Yeah, the language
Juan.
is Spanish.
Juan, yeah.
His heritage is Mexican.
Yes, I'm horrible at that stuff, but I'm getting better. Anyways, he is here to kind of give us a little walk through,
Did you say walk?
No.
Juan is here to walk.
Gosh.
Should we? Never mind.
No, I guess. So, so he's here to kind of give us some information on the immigration process, and basically, he's kind of going through some shit now with his family with immigration, and he was telling me about it at work, and I was like, I'd really want to get you on the podcast. You can kind of let us know what's going on. I mean, podcast, it's called Walking in My Wheels, and as we got further and further, I'm walking my wheels, and it's not just about me. Other people have their wheels also.
Figuratively.
Yeah, figuratively speaking, they have their wheels also. And well, when Juan was telling me what he was going through and everything, I basically was like, I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a podcast and kind of let us know your story about what's going on in your life. And he told me things about immigration and the process. And I'm telling you, everybody out there, that shit's way harder than anybody thinks. It's not about going and getting a couple of documents. That's a massive process, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And so he's on here to kind of tell us about it and tell us about the situation that his family is going through right now. But so as we do this podcast and we grow, I think we want to start reaching into people's lives and see what their figurative wheels are also.
Because that's the only way that we can grow as people is acceptance.
Exactly.
Because everybody's different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so true. And we all joke around and we cut up with each other, which is amazing. However, at the end of the day, life is, you got to dig deeper than the surface level and your mama joke. There's more to it. So we're going to kind of try and, as a podcast, definitely not every week because we love to have fun and joke around and
exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when we have people that have life and they're living it, why not share that with the world? Why not give other people a different perspective that you may never ever see? It's like I like to watch documentaries a lot, and I'll watch documentaries on prostitution and people. Well, why do you want to watch stuff like that? Well, I want to know what drives a person to a certain point in their life where they have to go and prostitute themselves. Like, what is that mentality? I want to understand a different point of view. So I think having people come and tell their stories, I think it's important. I think it something might be very interesting as it develops moving forward. So right now, today, it's going to be Juan, and we're going to kind of talk about him and his life and his scooter.
You got a scooter, too?
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
Figurative scooter.
I got you. I was just being a smart ass.
No.
So Juan, if you want to, kind of elaborate and, bring us up to speed on what you and your family are going through, man.
Yeah. Well, let's start off with you're Juan. You were born in America, right?
Right. I was born in California.
Okay.
Moved to Tennessee 12 years ago.
Okay.
So half my life here, half my life in California.
Okay.
So
all right.
my parents are Mexican, born in Mexico.
Right. What part of Mexico are they from?
Well, my mom, she's from a place called Durango.
Okay.
Like the SUV.
Right.
And my dad, he's from a place called Michoacan.
Is that more like northern, southern?
That's southern, more southern. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what? So they immigrated to America at what age?
My mom, when she was 20, I want to say 25.
Okay.
Now, they didn't meet in Mexico. They met here. Well, in California.
Okay.
My dad moved when he was around 16, 17.
So very young then.
Yeah, he was very, very young. He wanted to move here for a better life for him and help out his parents.
Okay.
So he moved here when he was 16, and he's been living here for about 30 years.
Okay, and both legal immigrants.
I'm sorry?
Both are illegal immigrants. So.
Right.
Okay.
Undocumented.
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 That's what I like to say.
Okay,
It's,
no,
it's what
that's
I
fair.
like to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
fair. We're trying to establish a base, to where you're coming from and all.
Right.
So,
Right.
So your parents met in California.
Right. They met maybe a year after they were both here.
How many
So,
children now?
5. It's me and 4 sisters.
Okay.
So it's
And are you the oldest?
no, I'm second to oldest. I have an older sister.
Okay.
only sisters, man. I had only sisters too.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
tough.
a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it's
It's
rough.
tough.
Man.
They
It's-
teach you how to respect women a little bit more.
That's
though.
yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're right.
Right.
Totally.
Right on. Okay, so what brought you guys to Tennessee?
Basically living California, it's expensive. It's it can be close to
Right.
$1,400 just for apartment.
Yeah.
So my uncle was the first one who moved to Tennessee, and he thought it'd be another chance for my dad to start life again. And
Sure.
because honestly, I love my dad, but he wasn't going the right direction.
Right.
So it was kind of starting you again, fresh.
Okay.
And we moved here also because I know it may sound weird, but he was going to be making more money here,
Yeah.
than in California. So,
Right,
I
right.
mean, you think that you make more over there because it's expensive, but no, he's actually started making more here than he ever did over there.
Yeah, you would think you'd make more because of cost. of
Right,
living
right,
over in
yeah,
California.
Right. I feel like there's probably also a lot more competition for work, as well with undocumented. Because in California, I know, like California, Texas, Phoenix, like Arizona area, there's a much higher concentration, of undocumented workers. So I imagine there's also more competition for the work that
Right,
there is,
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, and my dad, he worked with family, so it's like you'd think he'd make more, but no, he was still just making the minimum, which at the time, the minimum was about $775 or $750. I don't remember. Of course, I was like 13
Right.
years old, so
That sounds about right, actually,
Yeah.
about that time.
Right.
And when he moved here, he was making a couple dollars more, and
Right.
we moved into a home, that which was less expensive than the apartment we lived in.
Right. And it was a home.
It was a home.
Exactly.
We had a yard, not a big yard, but we had a yard, and that's the reason why we primarily moved.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things that you don't really consider, the cost of living. I can imagine that was not only just in his pocket a raise, but, for anything else, the cost of like a loaf of bread, cost of everything is so significantly different.
How old
So-
were you when you moved here?
To Tennessee, you're saying?
Yes.
I moved when I had just, I was in 6th grade, so I was
Okay.
12.
So
12, yeah.
So basically, when you lived, do you remember California? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Would
Well,
you
I mean,
consider yourself like a poor family or a
poor, very, very
Okay.
poor.
So
I mean,
basically, you moved here and you're like, okay, now I'm actually like
Yeah.
surviving and eating. And
yeah, funny because, I didn't realize how poor until I recently went back, me and Ashley, we went and just seen, the neighborhood, and it's just, very, very poor.
Yeah.
So, and she even told me, she was like, she used this word, that it was ghetto,
Yeah.
where I lived, which lets me know, it's very poor.
Yeah.
Which, you don't realize it until you move to another location and you realize that you did live in the
don't-
poor,
Well, as a
'cause
child,
that's-
also, you don't really,
Right.
you know what you know.
Right.
You don't know a difference until you actually, start to notice, like, the quality of things. Like, I'm sure moving from, because you said you were in an apartment when you
Right.
lived in California. Were you in, what area of California were you in?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. So you went from an apartment in Los Angeles, and then you had, like, a home in Tennessee.
Right.
And probably...
with grass and trees.
Right, and I'm from New York, so I'm like, I'm pretty used like from a big suburban area, and then like coming to Tennessee, there's a lot more space.
And you can also relate
as
more
well.
to the cost of living difference too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was tough because, my dad moved a month later. He called my mom. I think it was like on a Wednesday or Thursday. I do remember. And he told her, sell everything you have. I'm going to send someone to pick you up tomorrow. So it was tough. I mean, I had to
Right.
tell my friends bye, within
Just
hours.
that. Wow.
Just like that. My school friends, I never said bye to them. So it was tough. I mean, when I moved here, there was hardly any,
Right.
Hispanics or Mexicans or, anybody Latino. It was just me and my sisters. So it was very, very tough.
Yeah, I
And-
know like 30 miles or 20, 30 miles south you have Dalton, and there's a lot of Latinos in Dalton.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, in Chattanooga it's not as much.
Not as much at all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you notice, like, because when you lived in California, did you notice have like a, because I can imagine that's a pretty big change. You had all your friends and everything. Did you also have a very tight knit community?
Yeah, I mean,
as well.
Honestly, I knew everybody around the
Like
neighbors,
around
so I can go out and the store. My mom would let me go around the corner, get me some chips.
Is L.A., not
yeah, L.A. Right, L.A. And when I moved here, it's just in California, we walked to school. The school was about 2 blocks. So we'd go walking in the morning and come back. Then we'd go maybe, get, buy some tacos or whatnot, And here, when we moved is you take the bus, you come home, and just,
more of a culture shock.
Yeah, nothing to do because, there's not
you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, there's not really someone right next door to you. I mean, there is, but not like California,
Was it hard to make friends when you got here?
Yeah,
were you
very.
bullied? Was school shitty for you, or
I'm not gonna say bullied. Maybe I was asked many times if I was born here. When I first moved, because they weren't used to seeing people like me here.
Okay.
So people would ask me, "Do you have your green card?" And I didn't know what to tell them. Because honestly, I was never asked that question. I mean, I was 13. You don't really think about that stuff at that age.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would just tell them, I don't know. I was born here. I didn't even know what a green card was.
Right, and a lot of people don't know, because I think we had this discussion, before, that some people don't realize if you're born here, you're an American citizen.
Yeah.
Some people you don't need a green card.
Yeah.
If you're a citizen.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I was asked, do you have a green card? The person knew I was born here, so they were shocked that I told them I was a citizen, and they were just like, how? I don't know if they didn't like the fact that I was a citizen, just like they were.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was kind of ignorance in their part.
Yeah, I think I don't think they were saying shocked you're a citizen. I think they just don't understand.
Or maybe,
you're talking kids your age that are just listening to stuff that they hear on the news or their parents. Because I mean, anytime you get near a or anytime it's near any kind of election. They always bring up these things, immigration policies and all that stuff. So you said that your uncle moved here first. Do you have any more family here in town?
Yeah, actually, funny because after we moved, more of my family started moving for the same reason of how expensive it was, the living, cost of living in California. So pretty much all my family's here now. I have a couple of uncles who are still living in California, but all my family's here now and happy.
That's awesome.
And happy, right? Because, I mean, ultimately I know that a lot of, and I actually worked in Dalton, so I actually worked with a lot of, people that were from, El Salvador or Mexico that had, some of them were here legally, some of them were born here, so they're legally, but then they had a lot of family members also locally that were undocumented.
Right.
So they came here, and it's a significant, the amount of money that you make. I know it's, significantly more. Can you tell? Because I know I'm not sure how much, because as a kid you have rose-colored glasses. It's kind of like you're a little bit more into you've got school, you've got your friends, you're things like that. You don't really worry about the bills and things like that. Do you notice like a difference in your family members now, especially like that they're clearly less stressed, that they have a better life as well?
I mean, my sister. I have 2 younger sisters. One is 15. One is, I apologize, I think she's 10.
Sure.
Bad brother.
I know, right?
Wow, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Or 11. I think she's 11.
Hey, it's all cool, man. I'm horrible with years and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, my dad, he's always worked hard. Always try to give us what we can, but when we were in California, he couldn't buy. We never had a computer, we never had cable, because it was just so expensive.
Right.
And I mean, small things like that. My sister, she's got a computer. My dad buys her anything that he can, and that he knows she needs, not wants, but needs.
Right.
And
because that stuff is necessity. Almost.
Yeah. And when we were in California, it was a little bit tougher. I never had brand shoes. I never had, Jordans. All I had was Payless. So, or we go to the Swap Me flea market. They call it here.
Yeah. Swap meets out west.
Yeah.
What they call them. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
totally.
my mom would buy me shoes from there. And my dad, he don't have to buy my sister's shoes from flea market, which it makes me happy. I even, help out my dad with anything I can.
Right.
Because I want my sisters to have a better life than I did. Because I'm not the petty brother, who hates, because he gave her more than we had, but, because he couldn't.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So you see he's actually stepping up. So this kind of leads into what's happening. What's happening is with your father.
Right.
The whole immigration issue that's going on. And I was hoping that you could kind of talk to us about that, what's happening with your father, and then kind of go into how someone actually does become a citizen of America.
Yeah.
So what's happening? What's happening with your dad?
Well, I mean,
is it justified? Is it not justified? Like, where are we at? And to start off, I know your father's been here 30 years now.
30, yeah.
In America, 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, justified per law, maybe, but I mean, because I know he's, not documented. He doesn't have his paperwork.
Yeah.
So would people say, well, he shouldn't be in this country, but he's worked 30 years, paid tax, his whole life, has benefited the country more than he's benefited from. He's benefited from it too, but he's helped out the country.
Every time
a lot of people don't realize also there are a lot of people who are not citizens that are paying taxes. You're actually assigned a tax ID.
Exactly,
and,
right.
It's not a social security number, because when you do finally become a citizen, it changes. You're not keeping that. You get assigned a new social security number, but you pay tax, just because you're
social security number is same. I mean,
it's essentially the same thing, right? Yeah.
Tax
exactly.
ID.
It's tax ID.
That's all we are is a number.
Yeah. So, okay, so where is your father right now?
He's currently in Louisiana ICE detention. He's on immigration. ICE has a hold on him until we can.
So what led to that? Let's build to it and then.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, my dad, he got pulled over, no license. So
sure.
And he had a couple of beers. I'll be honest.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody does that.
I mean, we've all done it. Do I think he's a criminal for doing it? No. I mean, we've all do it. So he had to turn himself in for 48 hours, which I took him in Friday. It was the 10th of March.
Right, because that's kind of a lot of people don't know. Like, you can turn yourself in for 48 hours to to serve
drop
your
charges,
your charges, or it's also there's other routes, but also community service, like see people on the side of the road,
right?
Pick up trash, but that's an option,
right.
So like for a first time,
right?
Offense.
Yeah. So he was going to do 48 hours. He calls my mom on Saturday morning. I'm not going to be here for 48 hours. My mom gets excited. She was thinking,
he's coming
out,
Right.
But no, it's like, ICE put a hold on me, and I can't come out.
What is ICE?
Immigration, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, do you know what ICE stands for?
I know it's something immigration enforcement.
GTS.
Yeah, please.
I used to know, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
So no, that's fine.
So you haven't seen your father since March the 10th.
I haven't seen and I mean, that day I didn't give him a hug. I didn't give him a kiss because I mean, I felt bad. I just didn't want to make him cry.
Yeah. And you're like, it's 48 hours.
It's 48
I'll
hours.
see you in 2 days.
I did tell him, hey, Dad, I'm going to come here Saturday, pick you up, at 6 o'clock. Or not Saturday, I'm sorry, Sunday. So I left, and everything was good. I was actually playing FIFA 17.
Got a gamer here, folks. Got a gamer.
When my mom called me, and it just, I had to shut the system down. I just could not continue.
Yeah.
And
right. Yeah.
We couldn't do anything until Monday. When Monday came, we had to talk to an attorney, which we did, but we got an appointment until Tuesday. So that was the 4 days after he was already in. Immigration actually took him in Monday. So they picked him up on Monday, took him to Alabama, and then that's when we got an attorney. So he's helping us out, but it's still tough because...
It's still a process, too.
Yeah, because he's moved to Louisiana, so that was one of the main hold up. He's got to be there until we can do anything. So we had to gather a lot of information for my dad, or for the attorney, for him to be able to build a case for my dad.
Right.
Which was, his last 10 years, of taxes, letters, in writing, saying, what a great father he is, or husband or
employee.
Like we actually got one from where he works from, and which we sent it last. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. We got all the information we sent the information Tuesday. So the attorney called my mom just yesterday, or my sister, and told her that it probably will still take 2 weeks for him to get a hearing in court and set a bond.
Yep.
And the main reason why he wanted all this is the lawyer was because the bonds can be from $12,000-$20,000, and these are bonds that primarily need to be paid in full. So once my dad is out, once my dad is out, they'll return it back. Because my dad will still have to go to court after he's out, and he's going to work on trying to. Well, I'm hoping he's out. Once he's out, and he was actually, by the way, he was already working on his green card. I was helping him.
Yes.
But unfortunately,
for like a year or so.
For like a year, yeah. And this unfortunately happened.
And he's in the process of becoming a citizen, and then they're like,
residents, not citizens.
Resident,
become a resident and then a citizen.
Right, because it's a two-step process. You have to become a resident to be allowed to be here. That's what your green card is. It's giving you authorization to be in the country, and then you go from the green card to become a citizen.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's 3 years. You have to wait. After 3 years, you take a test. And then once
the average American would not know.
No. That's what they say. Yeah.
I've seen sample tests, and they're extremely difficult. They are really difficult.
Yeah.
So, but it's tough because so the whole entire process, at this point, I understand. I know as you said, this is something probably all of us have done. You would feel that after the 48 hours, he's doing that time that you would get him back. How are you holding up, with it at this point? Because this is your father. I'm sure you miss him.
Oh, yeah, it's tough. First days, I cried. I still cry.
Yeah.
But what hurts me more is seeing my mom, how she's struggling because she has no one to support her but myself. My sisters too, but I feel like I'm the man.
You become the man.
I'm the man now.
Yeah.
And, whatever my mom needs, I need to be there for her.
Right.
Not that I wasn't before, but, before I can come home, rest. Now I can't come home and rest. I got to go to my mom's home.
You have to help fill that gap that, of course, that role that your father was, because that's what he did.
Right.
He was another part of that puzzle.
Yeah.
So part of the family unit. But now I have, another question, because, this is something that you see pop up a lot, is that you hear about, there's been a lot of grabs. It's been reports like in New York City. I've been seeing people put up just in train stations, people are just getting picked up. And ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Yeah.
By the way.
And there has been reports as well of ICE going door to door in areas of
that are known,
undocumented.
Right, have a lot of undocumented people.
Yeah.
And have they done anything wrong? Like I said earlier, came into the country, undocumented, but in my opinion, if they're not hurting anyone,
and it's clear that not, and like we said, you had one of the things that you had to prevent, and you're presenting as evidence, is 10 years of tax documents. It's not that he's not being taxed. It's not that he's living off of you make the argument that we're paying for emergency services and utilities, all these things, we're putting the money into infrastructure, and undocumented residents or not. It's clearly not the case.
Yeah, he's doing the right things.
Yeah, and
right.
Let's say my dad, never became, U.S. residents or legal here in the United States. He would never see any of the money he paid into the Social Security. And that's what so many people don't understand, is that many people who, and honestly, all my family pays their taxes, and they're never going to see that money. If
they're not going to see the actual benefit of it in the long run.
And the Social Security,
Right.
So people don't see that, we also put money into programs that we will never see.
So
Right.
what you're saying is someone comes over undocumented, pays taxes, wants to retire at 65 but doesn't get anything back from the government?
Yeah,
Right, because there's no social.
Security.
Right.
They have no Social Security number. They just have a tax ID. They're not actually going to reap the benefits of having Social Security.
So they're not going to get Medicare and all that stuff?
Nope.
No.
No. They still have to worry about their, and also one of the things is because if you're undocumented, that does limit what you can get for work.
Right.
Because you're a citizen, I'm sure that probably makes your parents proud because you're able to, they have more opportunity because of that.
Yeah.
But now you got to think now on the amount of money that he's making. Now he's also got to save for retirement.
Yeah, which is
impossible. and medical and all of that.
I'd like to kind of go back to the residency and citizenship and kind of jump into that a little bit because, I mean, if you're paying all this money into being, you're paying your tax and everything, but you're not a resident or a citizen, then you're not going to reap any of the benefits from that. You're just paying America just to live here,
Right.
in essence.
Right.
But I know that you had a recent situation where some people had said some pretty ignorant things about becoming a documented citizen. And so I kind of wanted to not talk about that specifically, but talk about what it takes, like the process, because you were kind of talking to me a little bit about it at work, and I was just, it's so hard
Yeah.
to become a citizen.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not about going down and just getting signing a document.
Yeah.
Hey, taking a little test. Is this work to become a citizen?
Or even a resident, because you said you've been working for
resident.
a year.
A year.
Just to get a green card status for your father.
Right.
So there's a lot involved. I was wondering if you can kind of, kind of fill us into the steps it takes. And
Yeah,
and
I know.
God, it's got to be so freaking emotional and hard and just exhausting. What if you fail the test?
Well,
Do you have to pay for the test?
There's no test. There's no test when you become a resident. It's only when you become a citizen.
Okay.
A citizen is you take a test.
That's part two.
Yeah, that's part two.
So let's walk through part one. What do we, like if I'm undocumented, what do I need to do?
If you're undocumented, first it's not easy. There's many ways to get, your residence. One of the ways my dad was getting it was by me. I'm 21. Or no, I'm sorry. Once I believe it's 21, you can then help out your parents.
Okay.
Get a residence. So, of course, I'm 25 now. So we started this process when I was 24. So basically, the information that my dad needed to gather was also the information that we've already gathered, that I told you earlier, his tax record. He also needed to have an affidavit, which an affidavit is someone who will respond for my dad in case he doesn't have a job, showing that he won't live off the government, and that was me. Basically, I had a proof that I had enough income to be able to support myself
and your family
and my dad, not my
your
family.
dad
Yeah, because
he's the one. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, so that's one of the things he had to, prove. That's step one primarily. Once you have that, it's not even that's not even that's the first to get approved. Once you get approved, you have to then have your fingerprints. I'm sorry. You got to get fingerprints done. You got to get tests done, blood medical, make sure that you don't have any tuberculosis or anything like that. Have to have your shots, measles, mumps, and rubella. And you also get drug tested to make sure you're not in any kind of substance abuse.
Yep.
And that would be that's probably step 2.
Okay.
And then you
Now,
move in.
all this stuff, for all that medical stuff, is that out-of-pocket expense for you?
Yeah, you pay for that, and I'll get in a minute here as far as what the total cost can be. And then after you get and that's about the year and a half after the process. So,
you
this
do
is
each little step. They're like, okay, now that we have that, now you have to do this, and then you do all that, and then they're like, okay, no, now you have to do this. You can't just do it all in a week.
no, and so once you get tested and everything's okay, they give you a work permit, just a work permit. So you can work legally now. Work permit and your social.
What's the difference between? Because obviously he worked,
But he didn't have a.
He didn't have a permit.
Yeah,
but he was still paying his taxes.
Right, but as we discussed earlier, the way you pay your taxes is with the tax ID.
Right.
It just seems it's all ass backwards. It seems like
It's a pretty ass backwards process.
it just. Well, think about it. I mean, you're already working, but then when you're trying to become a resident, you still have to get a
Work permit, so you can work legally.
Right. That way
'Cause
he can go anywhere as opposed to
right.
like somebody who's taking the risk of employing him.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, because they won't hire you just anywhere because some places do ask for a social. So
Okay.
primarily big companies. My dad doesn't work in a big company, so they don't typically ask for a
right,
social.
a lot of and that's why you see it's more common with like construction.
Right.
Because a lot of times construction, there's like, the ones who are actually funding the build, but then they can subcontract out, and it's the subcontractor that has to take care of the actual work, like the workers and their documentation. So it's easy for them to, put it off on, oh, that was our subcontractor, they fired a subcontractor, and it's like they get another subcontractor. Thing is that it's, because they're undocumented and they don't have all that paperwork, that's why they may wind up getting lower wages, as well. So that's why you see more in construction and things like a lot of farming, as well because of that, because it's smaller employers.
Got you.
So,
Okay, thank you.
no problem.
Yeah, and pretty much after you get your test done and everything, they will, like I said, they'll give you a work permit, and then the last step is an interview, which depending, like my sister too, her husband, she's working with him as far as trying to become, documented, have his green card.
Yeah.
The last step will be for him will be an interview. That interview, they will just ask him questions as far as their relationship to make sure that they didn't get married just for him to become
That it wasn't
legal.
a green card marriage, right?
Yeah, and after my sister has already, my sister and her husband have already spent $6,000. If they get denied by the guy, the person who interviews them, he won't get anything, and he'll probably get deported or
Probably get sent back.
Yeah, be sent back,
and then try the whole process again.
Yep, and while he's in Mexico, and also, I don't know. It's funny because if you come here illegal, or undocumented, over the border, like my dad, he would actually have to leave the country. The reason why my brother-in-law doesn't have to leave the country is because he overstayed his visa. So he didn't come
He
in.
had a visa to come in, but he overstayed.
He overstayed. So he doesn't have to leave the country. He would just have that interview.
Okay, because he was led across the border. Technically, he was led across the border with a legal, like a legal reason.
Right.
He just overstayed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and my dad did not.
What a technicality.
So my dad would have to leave the country, and he has to go to a city.
Is this
Juarez.
is this residency first?
Just residence, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is okay.
This is just to get his green card.
Yeah, green card.
okay.
And my dad would also be spending that same amount, $4,000 to $6,000,
Mhm.
as well. And he would have to leave the country for maybe about a month until he gets an appointment in Juarez. And once you're in Juarez, they will approve you or they'll deny you, or they'll give you a sentence where you can't come into the country for 5, 10 years, months. So it's like they call it a penalty, something like that. They call it. So in order for him to be able to get his residency, he would have to have stayed in Mexico for that much amount of time.
So okay, so let me. Oh, it's exhausting.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Can you imagine
actually,
actually going through the process?
Yeah,
It's exhausting listening to it, not because it's, like...
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not. It's not like
it's crazy.
people have told me before. Well, I can take your family to get their residence, and they just acted like it's like getting a
Right.
license.
No.
It's not like getting your license.
It's a
It's
massive
tough,
process.
and you have to have money. I mean,
This man
also,
who's been here for 30 years is now sitting in a detention center. He's been working on his citizenship. So, or sorry, not his citizenship, his residency. So he had to get. What was the first thing? The very first step.
Well, the first step you have to get an affidavit,
You
which
get the
was
affidavit,
yeah.
and then you have to do all the blood work and all that.
All the
stuff.
tax records.
So then-
the tax, affidavit
the
and
tax
tax records
records.
first for all this 10 years of tax records.
And the blood work.
the blood work is after you get approved. The affidavit, that's just, hey, I want to become a resident. Okay,
But
you're
you-
approved. We'll start the process. If you get denied, that's the end of that. So, which you would have already paid like $600-700 after that.
Okay, so, all right. Then after the affidavit, you get approved, blood test, blood work. That goes well. Then next step is
The interview.
the interview.
The interview.
Okay, then they're like, you're good. You passed that. Now you have to go to Juarez.
If you came here illegally,
Yes.
yes, unless you because there's also my dad, he's got heart problems,
Yep.
so he was going to try to also
Circumvent that.
build a case also
As a doctor.
also me write letters, kind of the same thing what we did for my dad
Yeah.
now, but as far as why he can't be sent
Why he
back.
can't be sent
Right,
back. So
right,
that's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, does he have a
Hold
doctor
on.
that
So,
he
hold on. So
has used
let me-
here?
Let me.
Yes.
I just want to finish the steps here. So back to Juarez, and then while in Juarez, they could say
No.
no, so he could be denied after all the money he's already spent. So we're
Right.
already looking at $4,000 to $6,000. So they could say no, and then he's stuck in Mexico.
Right.
Or they could say yes. By the way, you left illegally. We're kind of pissed off about that, so you got to hang out here for another year to 2 years.
Right.
And then we'll let you go back.
Right.
What the hell?
and that's not even to be a citizen.
And he's been here for 30 years already. I mean,
And plus, he has a medical case
And plus-
and
yeah.
with doctors that he's seen here for how many years?
This 2009 about
So-
So, yeah, about 8 years. Yeah.
I mean, but at the same point, when he's down in Juarez, they could say you could stay here 2 days and go back.
right yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
okay.
people who've gone and next day you're approved. It
But you just
depends.
never know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why many people don't do it, because you're spending $6,000.
They don't have the money.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and then how does Mexico feel about this? Are there implications on the Mexican side?
Mexican politics, I'm not too familiar with it, but I do know that they try to help out the people, and they do tell them though to try to do it legal. They don't like us coming illegal either. Like if someone Mexican border sees one of their citizens coming over, they will stop them because they care about their risk. They're putting their life at risk. So they do care, but I don't know if they're too much involved with.
There's a lot, and it's just because I've heard pretty epic story about one of my old coworkers' sister coming over that she's terrified of being in enclosed spaces because of how she had to come over. They basically stored her kind of in the exhaust area of a truck. So the whole entire time that she went over the border, she was breathing that stuff in, and she was basically crammed in there. So now she cannot be in crowded rooms or anything like that, And there's also, of course, all the coyotes and there's the areas where they lead you through the desert. No guarantee. There's a lot of people who probably don't make it.
Yeah.
That way. It's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. So I understand, from the Mexican government standpoint, they don't want that happening to their citizens. But
Right.
they
And also, when you have undocumented coming over to America, then it just leads into this huge, political and so it's a political divide. And that was definitely and this is not a political conversation, but just
Right.
it raises upon
And it's the
It just-
ignorance of Americans who don't know policies.
exactly. And so and that's why I think this conversation is so very important because, I work with this really cool dude named Juan at work, and he's going through shit because of these weird laws and this struggle that this man is going through after already living in America for 30 years. That's who's paid taxes.
Yeah, there's
got to be something here that just
laws are enforced for a reason, but still there's got to be a statute of limitations for how long he's been here, plus
Yeah.
the medical case that his doctors already have treating him.
yeah.
I mean, there's got to be, things looked at outside of the box because you can't. Yeah, there are, but there's gray areas in everything that you have to be willing to look at.
Right.
And people forget, we're human, man. We're human. This is this guy's father. It's his father.
And the reason he came over here is his father. He came over here to make a better life for his family.
Exactly.
So I mean, honestly, walking down the street, if you saw Juan, what do you think? Just the first thing that came to your mind is that he's a person, or does that you think, well, he could potentially have undocumented parents? No, you don't look at that because we're all people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
And I mean, can I share a story, or not a story? My sister had a right. We all did one, but my sister was great. Can I read one that she wrote?
Yeah, it's to kind of clarify. This is
one of the letters.
To write kind of like referral letters.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Please.
So let me read my little sister's. And by the way, her name is Jasmine.
How old is she?
She's 15. And so this is what she wrote. It pains me to even write this letter and think about the possibility of my father being taken away from me, of him being taken from the only life he knows. My name is Jasmine Abrego, and I'm 15 years old. I am an honor student and soon to be an AP student. I also got inducted into school's Beta Club and National Honor Society program. All of my school accomplishments are because of my dad. He is constantly encouraging me to do my best in school and to do the best and to be the best person I can. I always make sure to get best grades in school to make my father proud. My father's always wanted me to have an education he didn't have the privilege to receive in his homeland. When my father called me today, the first question he asked was if I was able to get to school every day since he was the one who normally takes me. The question was followed by him telling me to stay strong and that he cares about me very much. Knowing he could possibly miss my high school graduation breaks my heart. That's the moment I have always looked forward to. Just imagine seeing the smile on his face as I accept my diploma. But now I might not get to experience that. The following years of my life are going to be full of moments that a child should be able to experience with their parents. This Thursday, March 16, I will be getting inducted into the Beta Club along with my fellow classmates, and my dad is not going to be there. Him just missing a little school ceremony is really hurting me. I can't imagine how I would feel if he couldn't be at my high school graduation. I realize my dad made a mistake and is paying the consequences, but him getting deported not only affects him, but his whole family, financially and emotionally. I need my dad in my life. I need him to guide me the right path, and his lectures, which I hate while he gives them, but never fails to teach me a value lesson and help me out tremendously in the long run. My dad has a history of pre-existing medical conditions, and I know him getting deported will increase the risk of him having another heart attack. After my dad's open heart surgery, he fell in a bad depression, but we stuck together as a family and made him know we would be by his side during every step of his recovery. If my dad got deported and fell into another depression, he would have no one by his side. He would have to face the battle alone, and to be honest, I'm scared of what he might do. I also suffer with social anxiety disorder, and my father not being by my side would only make it worse. A life without my father is not worth living. So that's one of the letters she wrote, as far as why, she needs my dad, not only her, but, our entire family.
That was powerful, man.
Yeah. Right.
Well written.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's only 15, so, I mean, she's an AP student, so proud of her.
Right.
Yeah.
And you should be. And you should be proud of her.
Yeah.
So your father did that. Your father and your mother, they raised that intelligent young woman to be able to write a letter of that caliber. I know adults that can't write like that. And you can feel it. So emotionally, you can feel the pain that she's going through and the fear.
Right. So now, that actually brought up a question I had earlier, but I didn't want to interject. Now, I know, is your mother also undocumented?
Yes.
She is. Now, in the event, because you've seen the stories, you've seen them just like, they're almost like footnotes on like CNN or, just seeing like, pop up on the news, where there's a lot of families where both of the parents, might be picked up by immigration while the kids were at school or at a friend's house.
Right.
You know, I know you're here. You know, I know you have an older sister as well. But that ultimately would mean that, like, if something like that happened, that you would wind up, you know, taking care of, you know, your younger siblings. Is that something that was like, is a fear, like, that you think of, like, on, like, from time to time? Because, I mean, we I guarantee you, like, everybody's heard about things like this happening.
Well,
so
yeah, actually, my dad, he's actually very scared for my mom right now.
Right.
He calls her every day, you know, tells her, hey, there's, you know, immigration is going from door to door, just like you said. Don't open the door. And again, you know, my mom, she's here, you know, not, you know, she's not here legal, but I mean, has she done anything to be taken away from her to children that need her at the moment? You know, no. It would just affect us all even more. And yes, I've thought about it. You know, just imagine my mom. She's actually older than my dad. She's 56. So for my mom to come back, she wouldn't come back. I mean, she's, like you said earlier, it's tough crossing the border.
Right.
So it would be, I don't know what would happen. would I be there for my sisters? Yes, I would. But,
right.
you know, I don't know if me emotionally, it would allow me to be there, you know.
It would be the way that you know, step in. Because that's big, you know.
I think you're a strong kid, man. I think you could handle it. I wouldn't want you to have to, but
right.
You got a good
I can't wish it on anybody.
No, but
nobody should wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, you got a good head on your shoulders. I mean, you handle shit, you know. So I think you should be proud of yourself for how you dealt with this so far.
Thanks.
So you know, you're stepping up. You know, with your father's absence at this time. You know, you're really stepping up with your mom and your sister and all that. So continue to do that.
That's also a family dynamic that probably the whole world could
learn from.
Get a better look at is Latino families, Hispanic families, even, you know, Indian families, you know, in the country of India, how from great-grandparents to infants, they all live in one house. They share finances. They spread the wealth.
Yes.
Because the economies in those countries are not built like America to rely on Social Security. So you have to rely on your family. So
rely on each other, right?
And as you know, me and Derek were joking we joke around a lot at work. You know,
no.
I mean, I was telling him, you know, and I know many people think it's make fun of us, but I'm sure you've all seen it. You know, a small little car Honda. You see eight, you know, Latinos or Hispanic pulling out of the car, 8 or 10. You just wonder how were they all in there. The reason why is because we're out going to that uncle's house. We're out going to, you know, that party that we got invited to, and we may only have one car, but we're going to stick together. And that's the reason why you see many people also living together is that,
right?
You know, to be, you know, we just like to be united. That's the reason why, and people don't understand that or don't see it like that. You know,
yeah, you take care of your own, and you can have the option and the availability to send funds back to Mexico to help out family there.
Yeah, like my dad. He's at my grandma. She's she's got diabetes, so my dad was, you know, helping her, sending her money. So that's gonna be tough now.
Yeah, because when you went to California with Ashley, which is your fiance,
right?
You asked everybody at work what they, you know, if you wanted anything, and I asked for him to bring me some pesos, and you brought me 20 pesos. And it's a bill. It's pretty fantastic. But what's the equivalent? It's like
it's $1 now. It's only $1.
It's $1 in America, and yet you could get how many? What could you buy in Mexico for 20 pesos?
Well, 20 pesos will buy you about 8 tacos and a drink.
There you go.
Holy shit!
2 people could eat.
Going to Mexico, guys.
Well, it's one of the things.
On Tuesday.
So I mean, that's why. I mean, if I was in a situation where I could go and send money back, and the currency difference was that much, if he sent $100 back,
yeah,
that's a lot of money
it's
regarding
like tacos for a month.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
tacos tacos for a month. Right.
Yeah,
right.
the
it doesn't sound like
exchange
a bad idea,
rate.
does it?
No, it doesn't.
The exchange rate. Well, but that helps with medicine. That helps with anything. Because I also, I'm not sure as far as like with food. Like here, it's easier to eat like crap than it is to eat well. Especially with diabetes. That helps make sure that she can, buy food. That will be good for her. Things like that. So I mean, I know that that's the whole argument because financially, that's money bleeding out of the country. But at the same time, can you really blame? Well, there's a lot of money that goes across.
Still being paid.
Right, the taxes are still being paid on it here. Yeah. Right, absolutely.
So
what you do, but it's not being going back into circulation. It's not being spent in the United States. Is like is what the argument is. But can you blame somebody for wanting to? Because that was part of the reason why your father came here.
Well, I mean,
right, is to help with his family. Right.
I mean, you work, you make money.
Yeah.
Should the government tell you what to do with your money?
If I feel like setting on fire, I feel like I should be allowed to.
And half the stuff that we buy anyways is imported from other countries.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But. Exactly. Yeah. Should somebody be able to tell you what to do with your money?
Yeah, there's a whole lot more wrong with and when I say wrong, there's a whole lot more broken processes that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Immigration is one of them, but again, there's bigger problems, bigger issues within America for them to build a wall. And I'm not going to talk. That's the only thing I want to say because that I don't want to get this into a political thing or anything. Yeah. But we have to look at our relationship with Mexico differently as a country. I just think we need to.
And unfortunately, I was going to school in Phoenix, like right before you started hearing about like all the crazy shit that was going on, at the border.
Yeah.
And we would go down to Nogales, it's a border town, pretty often, and Nogales, it's a cool town. You go across the border, and like as soon as you get there, I mean, I remember like being struck by how big the difference is just like from the streets. It's like Nogales is technically on the border. It's the same town, but it's divided by the Mexican United States border. And from one side to another, there is such a huge difference. It's like the streets, like just like cleanliness and a lot of things. Like it's just like you're clearly like in a different world, just like walking across. And for the most part, everybody I've ever met there, they're people just like you and me. There's this whole entire concept that everybody like seems to, I believe it was we're only getting there worst. I disagree because I've met a lot of undocumented people, probably more so now that I'm living, down south than I did when I lived in New York, probably because of the cost of living.
Yeah, think about how strong you would have to be to leave America and the will it would take to survive in another country.
It's a very big difference. It's a cultural difference immediately.
No, you're not getting the worst because the worst would have no drive to do that.
Did your father have a support group when he came here?
Like did he have like family that was already here, or was he one of the first?
My uncle, who he was actually the first one.
Your uncle?
Well, not the uncle who lives here. One of his other brothers. He's got two brothers. He was the first one to move here, and he's the one who told him that it was better opportunities for him here in America than it would been in Mexico.
Yeah, so then he came over.
Yeah, he came over.
Okay.
There's this movie that I watched, and the whole entire thing is in Spanish. It's all subtitles for the most part. There's part of it is in Los Angeles, but it was a movie I had to watch in Spanish class in middle school.
Under the Same Moon or something like that?
El Norte?
Oh.
That's what it was called. But I remember because it's basically the story of like, like two people like crossing the border, and what they had to go through emotionally. It's more the human side of it. It's difficult, and I think how many people go through that on a regular basis, because that process, it's an expensive process, like $6,000, $8,000, if you convert that into pesos, how long would you really have to work for that? Is that like a year's salary?
Probably more. I mean, you make 80 pesos a day in Mexico, which 80, that's about $4.
it's $4, and you're spending $4,000 to $6,000. I think was actually not $8,000, but but $4,000 to $6,000, and you're not even guaranteed.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for something where you might not get it. Also, you could do nothing wrong and still not get it.
Right,
it's like luck of the draw, like whoever the judge wants to be that day.
Well, my brother actually, he's my mom's son. He's not, it's not my dad's. So he actually, he's got a wife and kids, 2 kids. He actually applied for a visa, just a visa to come visit.
Yeah.
We helped him out, and he spent not only we, but he spent $2,000 for his whole family to be able to come visit us. He was denied. It wasn't even told why in Mexico.
For a visit.
For visit. This is just for visit.
This was a visitation visa.
Visitation.
Right.
And he's got 2 homes in Mexico. His wife is a teacher.
Right.
And he was denied. He wasn't told even why. He just was told, you're denied. And, that just kind of upset him because he was excited to see us, his mom. And,
Yep.
It never happened. I mean,
There's some backdoor deal where somebody's saying, oh, well, it's got to be X amount. Oh, we got to low it, make it less now. And so it's just a number. It's just not even real. It's not a person,
Right. Yeah. So ultimately, like right now, like with your father, like how, like I know you said that you're in the process, you're trying to get the court date. How does your lawyer sound about the whole thing right now?
I'm not really the one who talks to him. I mean, my sister, because, I work. So it's best if my sister, if she calls him. But she told me yesterday that they received the documents, they received documents. They're going to review them this coming week. Mm-hmm. And we still don't know when his court date is.
Still don't know the court date.
Yeah. So it could probably be 2 weeks or more.
Right.
At least 2 weeks.
Is it one of those things that it's like there's not like it could be yes, it could be no, like, or does he feel like there's like a good chance that?
Well, I mean, he feels that there's a good chance we can, bond him out.
Right.
But like I said earlier, bonding him doesn't mean that
he's still going to be guaranteed to be able to stay here.
Well, no, he will stay here, but he's got court. And whatever then I believe whatever, the judge decides, he'll then have to either, work on his residence, which, we're probably going to start the process all over again.
Right.
And, or he'll be leaving the country on his own. And if he doesn't,
so if he gets bonded out, there's still a chance he'll be denied.
Right. Yeah.
Residency. Okay. So
right.
basically, bonded out means you can get out of jail right now.
Yeah, just get out of there. Yeah, but if he does, I mean, earlier I discussed $20,000.
Right.
If he does, leave, like let's say he has to leave the country. If he leaves the country, we will get the money back. If he gets his residence, we'll get the money back. So I mean, but still, it's a lot of money.
Still money. I mean, I don't have that just throw around.
It's not that 10% thing that you can do.
Yeah, I just paid my $65 electric bill. There you go. I don't.
Right.
That kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Just, it was $12,000 to $20,000. Yeah. I mean, even the average American doesn't have that to throw that around.
Down payment on a house is ridiculous.
One of my dad's friends, he knows a company that works with people who need the bond. So they do a 20%, which 20%, it's not bad. Which let's just say it'll be $2,000 if it's 10, and you still have to put your property down. So.
Wow.
So yeah, it's tough. So
yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a big gamble. Yeah. Essentially, is what it is.
Yeah.
So. Right.
Wow. Well, Juan, I want to thank you for sharing with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Really, we really appreciate it, and any listeners out there, I mean, we'll definitely keep you abreast to what the outcome and the results of stuff is, as Juan lets us know. So, yeah, it's crazy, guy. I mean,
right. I mean, it happens. We all know it happens every day, but it's not something that a lot of people will necessarily come in direct contact, or even know that they might have coworkers, or somebody that they know, like a family, like somebody in their family has a coworker that's going through that right now.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I mean, you're human. You yourself are, an American citizen going through some crap. You pay taxes. You have rights. So, I mean, the government needs to take that into consideration. So, definitely want to thank you for sharing and letting us walk in your wheels with what you're going through.
Very well put. Very well put.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Seriously, I mean, that's
This means a lot.
No, yeah, when Derek came over to me and told me, I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I definitely want people to understand how difficult it can be. And as I told him and I told Grizz before, every scenario is different. So
sure.
People might, discuss out there, that's not right, because everyone is different. But, what we're facing, this is what we're facing. This is me, not...
right. We're not looking at. This wasn't. This is about you.
Right.
Where you're going through. We're not going to look. We try not to be political on here. We don't want. This isn't like the big picture.
Yes.
But it's just kind of things to take into consideration.
Examples of
man.
what could you could go through.
Right.
Your dad's here trying to raise his family. Known you for a couple years now. You're a good dude. I mean, you're not.
You shouldn't be losing your father.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you shouldn't be losing your father, and so. Just people need to be aware of this. This is the kind of stuff that's happening, and this isn't just because of, to get a little political. This isn't just because of the current administration. I mean, the last administration,
did a lot of deportation.
Yeah, there was a ton of it, more than any other president.
I mean, your father has roots here. He has a foundation.
Exactly.
It's not like he's just over here trying to get his family over. No, he has children that are U.S. citizens here, and that needs to be taken into consideration.
Right.
Exactly. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say before we wrap it up here, buddy?
No, that's about it. Again, thank you guys for having me here, and hopefully everybody can probably understand what the process could be like.
Yeah. Anybody out there who's listening to this, just good vibes. Pray if you are believe in God. Pray for what's your father's name? First name?
Juan.
All right. Pray for Juan. And pray for his family, and good vibes and thoughts, please.
Yeah, get involved, educate yourself on the process.
Exactly, they're not all criminals.
Try to help out as much as possible.
Yeah, they're not all criminals. Anybody that's undocumented, they're not criminals. They're just trying to live a better life, and they're human beings. So don't believe everything the media tells you.
Yeah, what's the point of Statue of Liberty if?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean we got to be better as a country.
Yes.
Better as a people.
Yeah,
your neighbor is still your neighbor.
I shared this before. I wasn't born here. I'm a naturalized citizen. And while my mother was, both of my grandparents, they immigrated here from Poland post World War II. So there's a lot of reasons why people come to this country. So, it's one of those things that you really have to take into consideration because it's not all bad. A lot of these are great people. I mean, because yet again, people. We're all just people.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Anything you want to say before we go?
I think I'm good.
All right. You, buddy?
Just, hashtag Be Love has never been bigger with us.
Yeah, more prevalent than this conversation. Juan, we really, truly appreciate you being on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And remember, everybody out there, even a speed bump can be a jump.
Thank you for supporting Walking in My Wheels. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you have something to say, email us at walkinginmywheels@gmail.com. Keep being awesome people and hashtag Be Love.